So we're excited to spend a little bit of time with you here today talking about AI and how it's playing out with some of the toys that are being provided for and designed for children. We have a really great panel here today. We have Feng Tan at the far end, who's the CEO of Woobo. We have Matt Hammersley, who's the CEO of Novel Effect. Next to him, we have Meyers, who's the head of global marketing at Minelab. And right next to me, we have Emily Chacra, who's the brand manager for WowWee. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
here.
here.
Thank you.
So I know AI is being talked about, I think, in every single booth at CES, even the ones that sell backpacks. And I'd just like to take a minute and when we look at this context, when we look at the kinds of products that we're making for kids, like, what do we mean when we say AI in this context? And maybe, Feng, could you start us off there?
I think AI is a new kind of technology that provides us more powerful tools or interfaces. So for me, I think AI can bring two parts of main values for kids and play. So the first, it provides an access for kids to reach to high quality contents, services, and activities. Because AI is so interactive and intuitive, so the kids doesn't need to really know how to search for certain content. They can simply ask why is the sky blue or where does rainbow come from, and there can be answers or even videos, cartoons, animations going to them. So the second part is about interaction, because previously kids watch some YouTube videos or maybe cartoon movies, but now it is possible that the robot or AI can help the kids with choose your own adventure stories or maybe like make-believe stories. Like let's pretend to be the firefighter for today, and it can provide a lot of potential possibility. Yeah.
So, I know AI is new for a lot of educators and a lot of parents. ISTE, we just barely published a book called Teaching AI. It's probably the first book aimed at educators on how to use AI in the classroom, how to help students learn how to use it. When you look at AI from a learning and development point of view, how is it being used to help kids learn, would you say, Matt?
Yeah, so for us, we think AI, so first, as developers and inventors, we need to be more clear about how to use AI as a technology. So we think AI robots can play a very interesting role in encouraging, inspiring, and motivating the kids to learn new things. So AI isn't about like separating the kids with real world. It's actually trying to, if we can use it properly, we can use it to encourage the kids to have more connections with real world or maybe group play to get to explore new things.
Sure. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is one of these fun terms that gets thrown around. I put them on my decks if I go pitch, venture capitalists and things like that. But to me, the biggest impact in education is really about engagement, and the potential of AI or advanced algorithms is to provide these experiences that are highly targeted, highly personalized, which therefore lead to higher engagement. And when you have that higher engagement in an educational context, all the learning happens from there, right? That is the most important thing, and I think that's a big benefit that could happen as AI continues to develop and advance.
So there's a lot of research that shows that, especially for early learners, for young children, some of the best ways to use technology is to use it to connect them with others. And I know some people are concerned that the more intelligent and engaging our toys get, there's a potential that they become the focus of that child's attention, right. and it could disconnect them with their peers and with other caregivers. How can we use AI in a way that continues to motivate imaginative play, or technology in general, and do it in a way that it connects kids with peers and parents and caregivers? Michelle, you have thoughts on that?
Sure, Joseph, that's a great question, actually. I think one of the things that we are challenged with as families is making sure that we disconnect. Our children have lots of tech time. And so we need to try to bridge that technology between tech and engaging in the outdoors. So there are a variety of different ways to do that. So for example, metal detecting. Metal detecting allows you to go outside, exercise, explore explore parks, beaches, fields, and it's a great opportunity to bond with the family. There are also opportunities from an archaeology and STEM perspective by utilizing metal detecting to utilize research, mathematics, problem solving. It's a way for kids to really kind of get outside, dig in the dirt, and uncover any hidden treasures that you have out there. So I think we owe it really to our kids to find ways to bridge that technology and use that to engage with them in the outdoor space.
Emily, when you think about this connecting students rather than sorry, I say students a lot because I work in schools a lot, but connecting children instead of disconnecting them, you know, how do you think we can do that in a way that you know, doesn't isolate kids?
I think, you know, when I think about technology, I don't view it as technology and toys and imaginary play or physical play as being mutually exclusive. I think technology actually complements those other more, let's say, traditional forms of play really nicely. We see it, for example, with Ping Pong Baby Shark. We have this incredible viral YouTube video and song that is translated really nicely into toys, and it's, you know, for example, with the song doll, and you see that you could kind of combine this really fun technology. You look at kids are dancing and singing to the song with their parents and their siblings, and the toy becomes a part of that. I think it's the technology and the music and the fact that we could actually integrate that into the toy that allows for other forms of play, like physical play and imaginary play. I think it's also interesting to look at, for example, fingerlings hugs. There's so many features that we've layered into that product that naturally kind of promote that physical play.
So what's an example?
So for example, a great example is you can basically throw it and it'll react to that movement. You can drop it on the ground, it'll react to that movement. Shake it, run around with it. So you get that action-reaction play that I think is so key to engagement. And a lot of that comes through the tech, obviously. But also just, you know, learning things that translate to, again, traditional play. So we're really excited about being able to do that and kind of marry the technology. There's something very human about being able to get kids to engage with tech and the action-reaction, and also, you know, promote a positive message, fingerlings hugs, for example.
Yeah, and Matt, I know your product has some really interesting features. It's in fact, it almost feels to me like the connection between people is the foundation of the product.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what we strive to do. And those who don't know, Novel Effect, we have this voice recognition system that synchronizes music and sound effects as parents or teachers read books with their kids. So it is a core part of kind of what we do, is that bonding between, and not having technology as a barrier to those bonds, but rather a facilitator to those bonds. And I think this is where voice comes in, and where voice can be so magical is it has that ability to transcend connections, right? You don't have a smartphone or a tablet right in front of your face. You know, that's not a personal electronic device, right? It's meant to be a shared experience. And so I think that's what we try and leverage, and you know, what we have always preached to our users as well is, you know, it's about being together. And it's about, you know, creating those connections and those moments together.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to think about voice recognition as a means for sort of taking the screen down between us and other people, right? Suddenly that technology can be there, can be part of the interaction, but it's not like the core mediator necessarily, that interaction. Mm-hmm. And you know, I have a son who, you know, first I tried to get him to write on paper, and he's like, no, we just type things. And so then I'm like, okay, great, learn how to type. And he's like, you know what, everything's gonna be voice activated when I grow up, so I actually think I need to learn how to type. And I was like, I don't know that I disagree with that. I mean, I still want to learn how to type, but I really think we are headed to a fully voice activated world. And I guess my question is that a good thing? You know, what will we gain from that, and what might we lose?
Yeah, well, I don't think it is going to be solely voice. I think voice is going to be used just like other forms of input, like touch, like typing. I think they're all a means to an end, and the voice will be used in these areas where it can have the most impact, right? Where you're hands-free, where you want to connect with each other. I think these are the areas where you'll see voice, really take off.
Yeah, so for me, I think I fully agree with Matt that voice isn't the only thing here. Voice is actually only kind of the search engine or maybe like an empowering interface. For me, I think still it's the content and services that back there is more important. Like for Matt, Novel Effect, they have really beautiful stories and that can empower the parent and kid reading experience. So it's service activity and these contents that can be empowered with technology. So I kind of partially agree with your kid that there will be a lot of voice interaction later rather than keyboard input, but the things back there is more important.
So how advanced is the AI at this level in these products? Like, would you say, are we on like version 0.5, are we on version 1.0? Like, where are we in the spectrum of really having an AI-enabled toy for kids?
So I think, so first, it's still far away. What we want to do is like at the current level of technology, what benefit or value can we bring to the table? So we think, okay, it can enable better access to contents and it can enable better interaction. And also, kids are actually much, much smarter than what we think. They won't think of this little toy as some real people. It's like, it is still an interesting toy that they can play together with their sisters and friends.
Yeah, I'll comment quickly on that one. It's not really AI yet. I mean, come on. It's, they're algorithms, right? To me, AI is when you have something else writing the algorithms for you. We're not there. We're writing the algorithms. We're doing that part right now, and we can use machine learning to help constantly improve those algorithms, but I consider real AI, it's writing the algorithms itself. And so I don't think we're there yet. We're just in the very, early infancy of what that can be. So
I know many of ISTE members and a lot of parents are concerned about privacy issues when it comes to this. And it's an interesting tension because you can create really magical experiences for children that feel completely seamless and fully interactive and that spark their imaginations. But in order to do that, you need a lot of information about those children. And that can feel uncomfortable if you're a parent or a caregiver. How can we enable technology that is both highly interactive and has that sense of magic and awareness, and yet also make sure that we're protecting the privacy of children and of the data that requires?
Yeah, well, this is big for us as well, being a voice company. I think what we tried to do is first we use, on-the-device voice tech so that no audio is being sent over the cloud. But I think the biggest thing is that you're giving the parents control and making sure that they understand what is happening and that we as companies are very ethical in what we do with that data. I think that is incumbent upon us, and I think that's what consumers will expect as the technology progresses. So I think it's hugely important. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, and I don't want other people knowing anything about our lives that I don't care to give them personally. So I think it's just from a developer perspective or a company perspective, it's about building our products and services in ways that honor those intents. And I actually really liked some of the stuff that came out of GDPR in this way where having the parent or the user be able to delete their own data, be able to see the data that you're collecting, manage that data, and have some form of control. Because most, right now, the user has no control. Right. It is, you give us everything or you don't use our product. Yeah. And I think that's not right, and that's not where it'll go.
Well, and I think as you mentioned, edge computing can be a solution to this, right? when you're processing it that locally on the device, then there's more control for the people who have the device. Other thoughts on this issue of privacy and?
I think for our company, because we are also voice interaction, so I think it's mainly three parts: transparency, responsibility, and collaboration. So for transparency, we want our customers, especially the parents, to fully understand what's the use of the data, that we are not sharing our data with any third-party sellers or with third-party partners. And also for us, we are trying to make our own technology, voice recognition, speech synthesizer, to make sure all data are contained in our own company. The second part is about responsibility, because we here only collect anonymous data, and we even try intentionally to blur the data, so we don't have any sensitive information. And the third is about collaboration. I think because the voice capability is really new in this industry, so it actually requires us together to collaborate a lot and discuss. So that's why we collaborate with KidSafe to make sure all our products are COPPA compliant. We undergo 6-month testing and discussion to make sure everything is secure.
Completely agree with those comments, and I think for WowWee, you know, it comes down to developing that technology and figuring out how we could incorporate it in a way that keeps it contained and keeps parents comfortable, like you were saying. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that evolves over the next few years when you look at certain things that we weren't able to do even 5 years ago and scale down to a certain price point, and you see that now we're able to do it. So looking forward to seeing how that evolves over time.
Great. So when you look around, and you especially see this here, you know, technology is being used to personalize every aspect of our lives. I stood on a scale, and it knew more about me than my doctor did. And after like 2 minutes of running electric currents through me out on the floor, it personalizes our entertainment, it personalizes shopping, exercise. It's almost hard to imagine our lives unpersonalized at this point. When you look around and you say maybe like over the next 5 years, and you think about this in terms of children, you know, what do you see out there? Like how will we personalize that technology for children in a way that promotes their growth and development? What's sort of the next phase? You know, you said we're like early stages. Like, what do you see as next?
Yeah, actually, it's funny to think 5 years in the tech world seems like a really long time, right? I mean, everything's kind of fast and evolving. When I think about AI and the personalization coming forward, I think we have opportunities from an educational standpoint to make sure that from an educational standpoint, that we're taking that and personalizing it, maybe inside and outside of the classroom, and hopefully even engaging that from an outdoors perspective. As far as Minelab, we're evolving, you know, our technologies every day. Our product is very different from all of our panelists here. But I do believe that one of the things that I want to leave you with is that we really do need to bridge the gap between technology and outdoors and engaging with our families and making sure that we're utilizing technology in such a fun and profound way that we hadn't thought about. But I really do think that from a personalization standpoint, that we do have the opportunities to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I'd say over the next 5 years, I have no clue. You know, I can barely predict the next 6 months, you know, I think that you were saying. So any predictions that I have are sure to be wrong. But as far as personalization goes, what's been exciting as being part of the Alexa Accelerator, and Amazon's one of our investors and partners. We've been, you know, working closely with them. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming out. And I think personalization, it's more about the setup. Right? So there's a lot of friction if you have to have somebody enter in these personalization points, right? And I think what you'll see over the next at least year is that a lot of those personalization points are going to be automatically collected, right? Or automatically determined, and the user's not going to know that that's what's happening, right? So I think that'll be one of the big things that we'll see coming out around personalization.
So I think I can see 3 parts of personalization. So firstly, it's about personalized engagement. Like all the elements in stories and songs might be more fitted with certain kids' interest. So they will be more interested in these contents and more engaged. The second part is about personalized learning experience. Because for us, we still want the kids to learn different things when they are very young, like some creativity, imagination, and curiosity. So how do you tailor learning experience to make sure the kids can explore a lot of different possibilities and also fit with their personal interest? And the third part I'm thinking about is the content itself. It's that the kids or the audience or the parents can really participate into the content. That's where we see a lot of potential interactive media, like the parents and the kids are acting the story out together, and the digital experience is connected with the real world.
So sometimes, what's your prediction? We got to hear it.
Prediction, I don't know. That's a really hard one. I'm with you, Matt, on that. I think.
I feel like you guys are all like abiding by your NDAs.
A lot.
But it's interesting that you bring up the tie to content. I think that's something that, again, we've seen with Baby Shark in a really interesting way. And I think that it circles back to what we were saying about really keeping that traditional play going, but still being able to leverage technology and the digital space in a way that really facilitates traditional play.
That makes me think, sometimes technology is viewed as narrowing the type of kid who engages it, right? How can we make sure that it goes the other way, that, the neurodiverse kids, kids who may have certain disabilities, kids who may not see themselves as STEM kids, how can we design what we're doing in a way that it expands rather than sort of narrows who's using that technology? I mean, I think there's a hint right there on your lap.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, yeah, and we live in such a YouTube world also, and I think that content has become so widespread and so accessible to everyone at all times. So I think, we see that back and forth, and it's funny, when we were first looking at the license and the property, we were trying to think, okay, is there an example out there of YouTube content that's translated successfully to toys, as opposed to the other way around? Right. And we were really hard pressed to think of something. So it's been really exciting and interesting to work on this brand and see how things will evolve.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting prediction, if I can give it the term.
Sure.
Is that we'll be taking content from the digital world and embedding it into toys, into physical objects.
And then, of course, having that back and forth between both, and as the product lines evolve, tying that back to content, and I think it's a two-way street.
Other thoughts on getting all kids involved?
Yeah, I would just say, we kind of touched on it before, but it's about the parent, honestly. Like in these situations where you have, what you said, a non-traditional STEM kid, right, or a kid with a disability or something like that, and it's incumbent upon us, I think, as companies and product producers, to really ensure that the parent is the guide with and the child, and this isn't something that you give to the kid and walk away. And you're not a part of it. You're not interacting with it. And with that, hand-in-hand learning with the parent, those kind of difficulties can be overcome.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting. That's also why before this panel I asked the question about coding, because recently we do see a huge trend of coding and STEM related education. So, but for us, we want to be more diversified in learning experience for creativity, let's draw something together, or maybe imagination, imagine we are an astronaut in the universe, or maybe a social emotional learning, how to deal with different situations where you have conflicts with the other kids. And also this digital world is giving a faster response to everything. maybe like a bonus when you finish a certain challenge. But the real world may not be that. So how can we use technology to even better educate about patience, or maybe a lot of emotion and management? That will be very interesting topics. Yeah.
Great. Well, I want to thank our panelists for enlightening us a little bit. There will be more information about the issue of privacy later on today, and all of the products that are represented here are out on the floor. So you should go and take a look. And thank you very much.
Thank you. We're the licensee. Yes. Well, so it's the licensor's IP, and so we have a license agreement with them to manufacture toys. Yeah.
So you didn't actually create the song?
So we didn't create the song. Are you really asking me that question?
Other questions? We can probably take 1 or 2 more questions that don't require proprietary information to answer. Any other questions, thoughts, anything you disagreed with that was said on the stage? Yeah?
Question about voice recognition as it relates to kids. Is there anything coming that's going to help voice recognition be able to understand what a kid is saying better?
Like you're saying, like kid pronunciation and kid voice and the way kids...
Yeah, it's data. It's data and models. They're getting better and better every day. I would think right now, Alexa can hear my 3-year-old pretty well. Couldn't hear her about 6 months ago, or understand her. So it's really about the data. Data collection of children's voices is not easy, right? There's a lot of COPPA compliance, there's a lot of consent issues in order to do that well, but they're doing it, it's getting there, and it's really just about the data mapping those, voice waveforms to the, correct pronunciations and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole industry is making efforts to push the technology. I think 3 years ago, kids' voice recognition might only have the accuracy rate of 60 or 70%. But now it's also reaching 90, even more than 90. It's because of the whole industry effort making algorithms better and better. Yeah.
One more question? Burning question, yeah? Yeah, so I think the question, let me see if I understand the question. For young children, what is the best sort of content for a young child? How do you translate that into this AI voice environment?
Correct, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's what both of us are kind of doing in different ways is, we're using voice to create, new and exciting forms of content. We're still in the early stages of understanding what kids want in that way and what resonates the most with them. So I think it's about learning from those experiences and really iterating fast. But I think it is about, engagement and fun, right?
So
and I think,
what's a magic moment that kids experience with your toy?
Oh, well, there's a lot, but I think it's when they're not expecting it, right? Because our product, it works with print books, and you just sit there with the kid and read a book like you always have. And that very first time when, you say, and then the bear walked outside and growled, and you hear the bear growl, and their eyes just light up and look around, trying to figure out, where's the bear?
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the
Thank
extra
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.